guys, welcome back to the random timeline. This is the final part of the Danganronpa randomized timeline. Danganronpa Randomized Redemption. You guys overwhelmingly voted for a randomized redemption, so ask and you shall receive. Danganronpa Redemption is one of the best fangins ever created. It gives previous Blackens and victims a second chance to get out of the killing game. And so what I did was I took the previous victims and Blackens, put them into a random number generator, and the top 16 is what I got. And these are it. So, before we get started, let's get out of the gate. The protagonist is Makoto Naegi, which should be pretty obvious considering he's the only protagonist left. The support is Shuichi, and the antagonist you'll find out later. So without further ado, let's get started. Chapter 1. So, with Chapter 1, Makoto wakes up in an abandoned classroom to find Fuyuhiko Kuzuryu. Makoto, believing that he killed him, apologizes to him. However, Fuyuhiko reveals that he wasn't interested, and also, he didn't kill him. Fuyuhiko reveals that someone else did, but he doesn't know. Then Shuichi comes along, and Makoto and Shuichi start to bond here. And so, in the gym, the remaining 16 find Monokuma. And so, Monokuma introduces the first motive. If the Black End gets away with it, they can take a student of their choice to graduate with them. And so, with that, the students are separated. Makoto and Shuichi decide to work together. And then there's also Fuyuhiko and Peko. And everybody finds out that Fuyuhiko is the one Peko refers to as Young Master. And so she doesn't want them to be separated again. However, things go awry when Sakura, a girl with high morals, argues with Fuyuhiko. Next time we see her, she is dead. Sakura Ogami is the first victim. At the class trial, Makoto starts to doubt himself, but he eventually puts the pieces together. And he realizes that Peko had killed Sakura so she could escape with Fuyuhiko. She didn't want them to be separated again. And so Fuyuhiko, pissed at Makoto but still crying for Peko because Peko was basically his tool, and Fuyuhiko didn't want her to be seen as a tool. He wants her to be seen as an equal. And so Peko is executed and is stabbed a million times, with Fuyuhiko taking collateral. Makoto finds Fuyuhiko, and after some convincing, he talks to him. And he decides that he wants to change for the better. Alright, Chapter 2 now. So, the motive here is that every single student has a rule on which they can't do. Akane can't eat above a certain amount. Celeste can't gamble. Chihiro can't mess with any computers. Fuyuhiko can't curse. Gonta can't say any bugs. Hiyoko can't bully anyone. Kaito can't say anybody's name. Kazuichi can't simp over anyone. Korekio cannot talk to any girls. Makoto can't. Well, as for Makoto, we don't know yet. Ryoma, he can't talk about death. Shuichi, he can't go near any detective equipment. Tenko must be near a man. And then Teru must be far away from any girls. And so, with that, Celeste and Kaito make a deal to get out of there. Makoto still talks to Fuyuhiko, and the two have a heart-to-heart. Same thing, and Shuichi also helps. And so, with that, Fuyuhiko is better friends with Makoto, similar to how he was with Hajime in canon. However, once they find out, Kaito is found dead. And so, now comes the second class trial. And so, originally, this case was unsolvable. but Makoto was able to pin it down that Celeste poisoned Kaito as part of their deal in the library. And so, Celeste is found guilty and is executed. Celeste doesn't really have the best morals, much like Mukuro in the canon Redemption, so Celeste would probably do something like that, even without pressure, so she is executed and burned at the stake, smushed by 5 Alarm along the way. Okay, Chapter 3. Now you might be wondering, what is Ibuki doing here? Well, Makoto and Shuichi found Ibuki in an abandoned classroom, and so she joins the group. Now, since Ibuki's the only musician here, there's no concert, and so instead, the students have to find something else to pass the time on the island. And with that, Hiyoko is still bullying Chihiro because that's what Hiyoko does. And so Chihiro is really not having it. Chihiro tries to stand up to Hiyoko, but she just launches back at him, causing his confidence to shatter. The blackout still occurs. And so, as the students are trying to find out what's going on, Ryoma runs outside to check on the students outside, only to find Hiyoko dead. Yeah, Hiyoko is the one who died. Now, keep in mind that in Redemption, only one student died in Chapter 3 instead of 2. And so with that, they have to find out who Hiyoko's killer is. Shuichi and Makoto work together to figure out who the killer is. Using the evidence and the truth bullets, Hiyoko's killer is revealed to be Korekiyo Shinguchi. Yep, Korekiyo admits that he distracted Chihiro so that he could stop him from being bullied again. And this time, he killed Hiyoko and therefore is executed, boiled alive, and then salted. Yeah, what a painful way to go. Alright, Chapter 4. So, what we know about this motive is that one of the students is the traitor, revealed from the two truths and a lie motive in a previous chapter. When Makoto and Shuichi are talking about it, Kazuichi overhears, and so he thinks that Shuichi is the traitor. And so when Makoto and Shuichi go their separate ways, Makoto runs into Gonta, and the two walk in, talking along the way. However, Gonta notices something going on in a booby-trapped room, and so he shoves Makoto out of the way before getting arrows impaled in his chest. Gonta dies. And so, when it comes time for the class trial, Makoto figures out, with a heavy heart, that Gonta's killer is Kazuichi Soda. Yeah, Kazuichi killed Gonta. Kazuichi revealed that the trap was actually set for Shuichi, who he thinks is the traitor. And Monokuma actually confirms it. Monokuma confirms that Shuichi is the traitor, causing everyone, especially Tenko, to turn on him. And so, then Kazuichi is executed, leaving Chihiro in an utter mess, as Chihiro and Kazuichi were good friends, similar to how Chihiro and Mew were in canon. So, now we move on to Chapter 5, and we have 9 students left. So, everyone is against Shuichi now, and Makoto doesn't want to talk to him either. Instead, he finds solace in Chihiro and Fuyuhiko. However, as they were walking down the hall, Makoto walks down to a booby-trapped path and almost falls to his death. Who saves him but Shuichi, whose brave action puts everyone else back on his side. There is no motive on chapters 5 or 6. So with that in mind, even Tenko is impressed that Shuichi saved Makoto, and so she starts to break down her hatred of men thanks to his brave actions. However, Makoto finds Chihiro and Fuyuhiko talking, and Chihiro asking if Fuyuhiko is okay, and Fuyuhiko says that he is, and so he walks to his room. Makoto and Chihiro talk to each other, and Chihiro is worried about Fuyuhiko, and so Makoto tells him not to worry about it. However, we find that Chihiro has died. And so, when the class trial is revealed, Makoto figures out that the class knew that Fuyuhiko would be targeted, and so Makoto and Shuichi working together figured out, using the evidence, that Chihiro actually killed himself, causing Fuyuhiko to break down in tears instead of swearing out. And so, Fuyuhiko and Makoto really start to bond now. Which moves us to Chapter 6. We now have 8 students left, and so we now have to figure out who the mastermind is. Now, much like in canon, who the mastermind is here didn't really want to be the mastermind. It was just forced upon them. However, this is when Alter Ego reveals themselves. Since Chihiro is still in this cast, Alter Ego still exists. The remaining 8 students find out what's been going on. And so, a big piece of evidence is Alter Ego figuring out that Makoto was framed in his game. And it was revealed that Toko Fukawa, killed Fuyuhiko and framed Makoto so she could get out and see Byakuya. And she had developed a simp-like obsession over him, causing Makoto to absolutely feel distraught. His hope is almost extinguished, but it isn't. There's still a glimmer of hope within Makoto. Shuichi feels it too. And so, with that, the remaining students find the class trial, and with that, the mastermind is revealed to be Teru Hanamura. Much like Angie in canon, Teru didn't really want to be the mastermind. He was forced into it by Team Danganronpa, this alternate Team Danganronpa, because it would make good ratings. And as soon as the execution happens, Teru decides to make everybody an offer. Everyone who doesn't vote for him will be executed alongside him. Fuyuhiko decides to sacrifice himself and vote for himself. And so, with that in mind, Teru and Fuyuhiko are executed, leaving us with our survivors: Akane, Ibuki, Makoto, Ryoma, Shuichi, and Tenko. The epilogue starts in a rather interesting way. Makoto wakes up in his pod to find Sayaka and Kyoko standing over him. When he sits up, both girls hug him, and Sayaka even cries into his shoulder. After they break, Kyoko apologizes to Makoto for throwing him under the bus for his own gain. And Makoto, being the good boy that he is, forgives her. He then asks the two what happened after he was executed. Sayaka tells him that they were able to find out that Toko was the one who framed him, but then she also told him about the Necronomicon thing and how he was originally going to be brought back earlier. Makoto, shocked that Sayaka would go this far for him, even though he was a literal nobody according to himself, that he now saw the girl in a new light. Kyoko too. The other survivors also wake up and are taken to recovery rooms. Sayaka and Kyoko lead Makoto to his, and the three have a heart-to-heart. Kyoko, still feeling guilty about Makoto's death, asks Makoto what she could do to help him. And so Makoto tells her that she doesn't have to do anything. He has already forgiven her, and therefore doesn't need to do anything for him. Kyoko smiles and hugs him. Sayaka does the same. Then Mahiru enters. Mahiru also apologizes to Makoto, and he forgives her as well. The next day, Makoto heads for the Future Foundation, which is now led by Hajime Hinata, to find that the remaining students who died all were brought back. Hajime reveals that he worked hard for months to figure out a way to revive the dead students who died in the redemption program. Kyoko added up, saying that she figured out a way to transfer the despair virus out of the survivors into other students. If they were infected with the despair virus, they could not be revived. However, two students were conspicuously missing, Teru Teru and Fuyuhiko, the two students who had the despair virus still in them. Hajime tells Makoto that he's still working to find a way to recover those two. And so, with that, many heartfelt reunions commence. Chihiro, Miu, Kazuichi all start to get along, same with Kibo, and Tenko fully drops her hatred of men at this point because of what Hajime did and Makoto and Shuichi. With that, Makoto then realizes that Peko is missing. He then heads back to the pod room to see Peko standing over Fuyuhiko's pod. It opens, and the two have a heartfelt reunion, with Fuyuhiko giving a smile to Makoto and Peko sincerely apologizing. Once again, Makoto forgives Peko because he's such a good boy. And then the final pod opens, Teru's pod. He, out of everybody else, wants to clean his conscience of what happened. Everyone's lives, at least everyone who's here, goes on their happy way. Makoto, Kyoko, and Sayaka form a happy trio and eventually start dating. Kaede and Shuichi also start dating. Hajime and Chiaki also start dating. And eventually, everyone goes back to their normal lives. Well, that does it for this video. I hope you enjoy it. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching the random timeline. I will be doing another Danganronpa timeline along with some more Disney content in the future. And so, that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time.